You weren't born to please anyone. You were born whole, free, unapologetic, but somewhere between your first breath and your first heartbreak, you were handed a silent contract. A contract that said, be good and they'll love you. Be quiet and they'll keep you. Be agreeable and you'll be safe. You didn't sign it with a pen, you signed it with your silence. That silence became survival. You laughed at jokes that weren't funny. You said yes when everything inside of you screamed no. You shrunk when you should have stood tall. Not because you were weak, but because you learned, like many of us, that approval was currency. And without it, love felt like starvation. But here's the truth they never told you. The more you contort yourself to be liked, the more unrecognizable you become to yourself. People-pleasing is the slowest form of self-abandonment. It's death by 1,000 smiles. And the world rewards it. You get praised for being nice. You're labeled easygoing. They call you selfless. But selfless is just a prettier word for missing. You've made a home in other people's comfort. You've built your identity in their perception. You've mastered the art of disappearing while standing in plain sight. But something inside you is beginning to crack. And that's not weakness. That's a part of you that remembers you were not born for this. There's a psychic fracture that occurs when you live for others. Carl Jung called it the loss of the self, a spiritual amputation. And it shows up in your anxiety, your exhaustion, your quiet resentment, because your soul was not designed to be leased. Every time you say yes to avoid conflict, you plant the seed of bitterness. Every time you pretend to agree just to keep the peace, you declare war on your own voice. And every time you smile through something that is breaking you inside, you are bleeding your authenticity into the ground. But here's the secret. People-pleasing doesn't come from kindness. It comes from fear. The fear of being disliked. The fear of being left. The fear that if you finally show them who you are, they'll walk away. But if someone leaves when you're real, they were never staying for you anyway. You must understand the weight of your own silence. Because in your attempt to be loved, you've become a mirror reflecting back what others want to see. But mirrors don't have souls. They don't feel, they don't choose, they don't live. And neither do you when you let everyone else define your shape. The irony is cruel. The more you try to be accepted by everyone, the less you are known by anyone, especially yourself. And so you begin to wear masks, one for family, one for friends, one for work, one for strangers. But the most dangerous part of wearing a mask is forgetting it's not your face. One day, you look in the mirror and realize you've become everyone but yourself. This is the moment you must return, not to who they told you to be, but to who you were before the world taught you to beg for love. Reclaim your no. It is not cruelty. It is clarity. Reclaim your boundaries. They are not walls, they are doors. Reclaim your truth. Because the truth doesn't need to scream. It just needs to be said. You don't owe the world a performance. You don't have to twist yourself into shapes that make others more comfortable. Let them be uncomfortable. Let them misunderstand. Let them go. You cannot be free if you're still handcuffed to other people's expectations. And here's what they won't tell you. The version of you they loved, the agreeable one, the quiet one, the easy one, that was never you. That was the mask. And when you remove it, some people believe. Let them. That's not rejection, that's revelation. You are not here to be palatable. You are not here to be digestible. You are not here to be everyone's favorite flavor. You are here to be real. And real doesn't always taste sweet. Sometimes real tastes like boundaries, like silence, like walking away, like being alone long enough to remember your own voice. Jung once said, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. But to claim that privilege, you must disappoint a few people. You must break a few unspoken contracts. You must risk being seen in your raw, untamed form, because the world has enough copies. It needs more truth, the truth of you, unmasked, unedited, untamed. Not the you they taught you to be, not the you that's easy to love, but the you that you've buried beneath the people you were afraid to lose. That self is still alive, is still waiting, still burning with a quiet fire. And every time you choose yourself, that fire grows brighter. You are not selfish for wanting to breathe. You are not wrong for needing space. You are not broken for saying, I don't want this anymore. You are finally remembering what wholeness feels like. So stop apologizing for your no. Stop shrinking so others can feel tall. Stop editing yourself just to fit inside someone else's story. This is your life. And your soul is not up for negotiation. Let them call you difficult. Let them say you've changed. Let them leave. But never again let them decide who you are. Because here's the hidden cost. No one speaks about it. Every time you abandon yourself to be accepted, you reinforce the belief that your truth is not worth standing up for. And beliefs, when repeated enough, become reality. You teach your nervous system that peace is dangerous, that love must be earned by erasure, that safety comes only after sacrifice. Sacrifice of your wants, your voice, your presence. This is not love. This is emotional slavery dressed as belonging. And slavery of any kind, especially the kind you volunteer for, always ends in suffering. The world has conditioned you to betray yourself nicely, to be agreeable, to be professional, to be polite. But politeness without principle is a prison. You are not here to be polite while your soul withers. You are here to be sovereign. And sovereignty starts when you remember you don't exist to manage other people's comfort. You don't exist to be a cushion for someone else's fragility. You don't exist to entertain, explain, or absorb their projections. You exist to live your truth fully, fiercely, and without apology. Most people fear confrontation, not because they hate conflict, but because they were never taught how to hold their own without guilt. So instead of facing the discomfort of truth, they learn to fold, to bend, to bow. But every time you choose comfort over courage, you cut yourself away from your destiny, because you cannot rise while kneeling at the altar of other people's expectations. True power begins the moment you stop negotiating your worth. Look closely at the places you feel most exhausted. They will tell you where you're overgiving. They will tell you who you're performing for. They will reveal who benefits from your silence. And make no mistake, someone always benefits from your self-abandonment. But it's never you. So stop waiting for permission to be real. Stop asking for approval to speak your truth. No one will hand you your freedom. You must take it. This isn't rebellion. This is restoration. Restoring the truth of who you were before you learned to be convenient. And it will be hard, because when you stop being who they want you to be, you'll face the silence, the disapproval, the cold shoulders, the subtle punishments. That's the price of authenticity. But it's also the doorway to liberation, because once you survive being misunderstood, once you survive being alone with your truth, you'll realize you never needed them to choose you. You only ever needed to choose yourself. You knew that individuation, becoming your fullest, truest self, always involves the shattering of illusions. It's the death of the false self. The ego, the mask. It's painful, but that pain is sacred. It means you're finally shedding the skin that never fit. You are not here to fit. You are here to expand. And the ones who truly see you will not flinch when you finally show up as you. They will not punish your wholeness. They will honor it. But first, you must walk through the fire of your own becoming. Not everyone will make the journey with you. Let them go. Some people were only meant to love the mask. This is your life's turning point. Right here. Right now. Not some future day when you feel ready. Not after you read one more book or heal one more wound. Now, choose yourself now, even if your voice trembles, even if they call you selfish, even if it means starting over, because starting over as your true self is better than succeeding as someone you're not. You were not made to be manageable. You were made to be magnificent. So stop shrinking. Stand. Stand in your truth. Stand in your no. Stand in your boundaries. Stand in your enoughness. And let them call it whatever they want. Because from this moment forward, you are no longer available for your own destruction. You are no longer available for self-negotiation. No longer available for diluted dreams. No longer available for emotional bartering where your peace is traded for proximity. You've tasted the bitterness of pleasing everyone. Now it's time to drink the fire of your own freedom. Let them say you've changed. Let them call you difficult, distant, even delusional. That is the language of people who only knew the version of you that kept bleeding to keep them comfortable. Let them say it, and let it echo behind you as you walk away. Because walking away isn't weakness. It's wisdom. It's evolution. You are not hard to love. You are just no longer easy to use. And that shift, that sacred reclamation of your soul will terrify those who fed off your compliance. But don't mistake their fear for your failure. It's proof you've stopped betraying yourself. We live in a culture addicted to politeness over truth, compliance over clarity, a culture that worships likability, even if it costs your aliveness. But likability is a leash, and you were never meant to live on your knees. You were meant to rise, to roar, to reclaim. And if that rising makes others uncomfortable, so be it. Comfort was never the goal, liberation was. Carl Jung said, the most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. And he was right. Because when you accept yourself, you shatter the illusion that you ever needed to be fixed, edited, or explained. You realize the cage was never real. It was built from borrowed beliefs. Beliefs that told you, don't be too loud. Don't take up too much space. Don't want too much. Don't ask. Don't choose yourself. But you're done with that script. You're not here to be a chapter in someone else's comfort story. You're here to write a new book, one where your voice is not just heard, but honored. So stop being afraid of who you really are. Stop tiptoeing around your own power. Stop apologizing for your presence. This world needs your truth more than it needs your compliance. Yes, some will recoil. Some will walk away. Some will call you selfish, arrogant, or crazy. Let them. Their discomfort is not your burden. You are not responsible for the stories they tell themselves to feel safe in your absence. You are only responsible for one thing now, to no longer disappear inside of yourself. Because disappearing is no longer survival, it's suffocation. And you have too much light left to give to die buried in other people's comfort. The next time you feel the urge to please, pause. Ask yourself, is this kindness or is this self-erasure? Is this generosity or is this fear wearing a smile? Am I helping or am I hiding? Am I loving them or am I abandoning me? These questions are your compass, and the answers will liberate you. You don't need to be loved by everyone. You just need to be loved by yourself completely, deeply, relentlessly. Because When you love yourself enough to disappoint others, you finally stop disappointing you. And that's when the shift happens. That's when your voice deepens. That's when your spine straightens. That's when your presence becomes unshakable. Not because you've become aggressive, but because you've become whole. Because you've realized you are not here to be invited. You are not here to be chosen. You are here to belong to yourself. And when you belong to yourself, the world no longer gets to vote on your worth. You become untouchable. So stand in the ashes of the version of you that lived for their approval. Let it burn. Let it collapse. Let it die. Because something greater is waiting to rise from within you. Something unshakable. Something ancient. Something sacred. Your true self. The one who never needed to be pleasing. Only present. The one who never needed to be easy. Only real. And when you become real, truly, fiercely, unapologetically real, you become free. Forever. And freedom, true freedom, isn't loud. It doesn't seek validation. It doesn't ask for applause. It doesn't come wrapped in gold or glory. True freedom is quiet. It lives in the moment you say no without guilt. It lives in the hour you rest without permission. It lives in the breath you take without explaining why you need space. It lives in the sacred moment when you no longer ask, will they still love me if I stop pleasing them? And instead you ask, will I still love myself if I don't? Because love without truth is bondage. And truth without love is brutality. But love with truth, that is freedom, that is peace, that is power. And you are stepping into a power most never touch in their lifetime. Because you are no longer driven by fear. You are led by integrity. The integrity to show up as you are, to speak without trembling, to live without explanation. And there is nothing more unstoppable than a person who has made peace with their own presence. This is what happens when you stop pleasing. You stop chasing breadcrumbs and start building a feast. You stop begging to be chosen and realize you are the chooser. You stop molding yourself to fit rooms too small for your soul. And instead, you become the room. You become the presence. You become the gravity that pulls authenticity from everyone around you. Because realness is contagious. And when you stop performing, you give others the courage to do the same. That is how healing spreads. Not through speeches or slogans, but through one person who dares to live fully aligned. One person who dares to say, I will no longer abandon myself, not for love, not for peace, not for anything. That person changes everything. So now the question is, will that person be you? Will you choose a lonely path that leads to freedom, or the crowded path that leads to quiet suffering? Will you walk away from comfort so you can finally sit at the table of your own truth? Because at that table, there is no mask. There is no performance. There is no pretending. There is only the unfiltered, unedited, unbreakable you. And I promise you this, the moment you sit down, the moment you stop folding, shrinking, sacrificing, you will feel the ground beneath you shift. The air will taste different. The silence will feel holy. And your soul will whisper, finally, you came back. Because this isn't just about stopping the habit of pleasing. It's about reclaiming your place in the universe. It's about remembering that your voice was never meant to be small. Your needs were never too much. Your dreams were never a burden. And your truth, it was always worthy of being heard, held, honored. You just forgot. But now, you remember. Now you rise. Now you return to the fire, to the depths, to the you that was buried beneath years of smiles that weren't yours. You dig, you break, you bleed, you breathe, and in the wreckage of your people-pleasing past, you build. You build a self no one can take from you. Not with words, not with silence, not with love withheld or approval denied. You are done begging. You are done bending. You are done disappearing. From this moment forward, you walk not for their love, but for your life. And every step you take is a declaration. I am done pleasing. I am here to be free.